In this episode of Grief in Common, we mention suicide and illness, and we talk about grief throughout. Hi, welcome to the Grief in Common podcast. I'm Abigail. If you haven't seen me speak before, then I talk about how my sister passed away from suicide when I was 13. This episode, we're going to be talking about grief in the media, representation, and I'm joined with Miranda for it. So, Miranda, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Miranda. I'm 18. My dad died a year ago when I was 17, after being ill for a long time. And yeah, I'm excited to be doing this today. Should we start by talking about, I don't know if you want to start with positive or negative representation of grief, but is there any standout examples?
Maybe the one negative maybe sometimes is, I think for personal experience with me, a lot of it can be very depressing. It can show like the person shutting themselves away entirely, or the endless crying, which not even on when like a person dies, but times after it. I think sometimes they don't show the fact that you also move on with your life and good things can happen to you. You know, like someone's passed away, but you can still go traveling. You can still like progress in your education, and you don't have to kind of sit at this level of day one grieving for the rest of your life. I think that's one thing I noticed quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen a lot of representation. It appears, but then it's always like a brief storyline, I feel like, in things. It's not like the main thing, which is in some ways good because there are, like other things that happen in your life, like you say. But are there any like films or anything that you've seen that you think represent it well? And if not, it's fine.
I'm not too sure. I've watched a couple clips of Afterlife.
Oh, yes. I have not seen that, but it's meant to be good.
Yeah, I can't think how to pronounce his name for the life of me, but I've seen clips of that are really good, in the little like monologue sections where he speaks about his wife, and I think it's one of the ones that stick out to me. Don't know about you, if you can think of any.
Well, I don't even know if it's still on Netflix, and it's just a random example, but I saw a film called Good Grief on Netflix, and it's about this guy whose like husband dies in a car crash on Christmas, and it's all quite like, I don't know if it's kind of a rom-com, but it was a bit more like nuanced, and I appreciated the way that, because it included like him talking to the people in his life about his grief, and him trying to explain it to people, and people not understanding and people understanding. I think it's good to see the wider circle of it. All I can think of at this particular moment, things like if a pet dies in a film, and it's like the first time I ever cried at a film was because the dog died, but I that's not, it's kind of a slightly different thing. I'm going to use this opportunity of thinking about dogs dying in films to say there is a website
called Does the Dog Die?
Yes. Yeah. Which is probably actually a good thing to mention in terms of media.
Yeah.
Basically, you can explain it. You explain it.
Does the Dog Die? I'm not entirely sure how I found out about it, but it is a really good website that you can create an account and you can save your triggers, and then you search up films, TV shows, and people basically have gone on there, written almost like reviews, and done the checklist of what these films and that include. So I personally use it a lot more for my emetophobia, and people can be like thumbs up, thumbs down. It's really helpful because people will go into detail. I think it's Stranger Things. Someone's done a rundown of episode 1 all the way through, being like, no, this episode's safe. This episode has a little bit, or people might say it doesn't necessarily show this, which you've put as your exact trigger, but there's things that might still upset you surrounding it. I find it really helpful. Someone puts a film on at uni and I'm like, give me 5 minutes. I just need to really quickly check it. But yeah, that's crazy as well that you've heard of it.
Yeah. I haven't used it that many times, but I was just thinking, because it's called Does the Dog Die? It's probably very useful in terms of, because obviously sometimes you don't want to be watching a film about death or grief because it can be upsetting.
Like, I personally have a lot of fear of judgment from other people.
Yeah.
A lot of it as well, like around the time of, so like my sister's anniversary is in like May. She has her birthdays on the 3rd and her anniversary is on the 17th, so they're really close together and it's a really like crap month. I'm a little bit wary and subconsciously not myself for like the last few weeks of April, and I just use the excuse to people of like, oh yeah, it's just that time of year. But then come her actual anniversary, I have motivation. I want to go up and do things. I think maybe last year I went clubbing on her birthday, and I feel like everyone else is thinking, you were literally sad about 2 days ago, and now you're doing that. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I think you're right about, I mean, dates, and also like I think it can just, in terms of how, you know, if you're like not yourself, it's not necessarily on the days that people would expect or at the times that people would expect. At my dad's funeral, there were 2 parts to it. The first part was like for the family, and the second part was a bit like of a wider thing. And so it had like people from my church and all sorts. And so I had been really like upset in the first part, and then we went to the second part, and it was more of a celebration, and there was like more nice speeches, and it was nicer. But that was like the place where everybody like saw me more, and I felt really weird for not like crying in front of everyone at the funeral. Like, and it was a bit of a weird situation because my dad worked at my school, and so my school choir was singing at the funeral. I mean, it was lovely, and I'm in the choir, and so, you know, they're all my friends, but it was like really weird having them like facing in the like choir stalls, and I was like, everyone's looking at me. And afterwards, somebody from like just a family friend, I guess, like kind of not that close family friend, came up and was like, I've never seen someone look more radiant when they could have looked more morose. And I was like,
oh my god.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's just not necessarily when people expect that you would be upset. Like, it kind of can be at random points. But yeah, there's my little anecdote.
Yeah. I can't believe that person said that, to be honest. You feel like you're not crying when you're supposed to cry, or the complete opposite, and it's like, my sister passed 6 years ago. So yeah, I think it's, oh gosh, I don't know, I'm 20 now. I think that's actually 7 years ago. Oh gosh. And that was before I knew anyone at uni, anyone at college. It happened a really long time ago, and she doesn't necessarily come up in conversations unless someone asks the sibling question, or I bring it up. So I'll tell people, and then they're like, oh, okay, that's in the past. But then what's really nice is one of my friends at uni messaged me literally the other day. I don't know if she's going to see this or not. She'll probably cry if she does. But she sent me a TikTok about, it said something like, when I see someone saying they're the oldest child and then correct themselves that they're actually the middle child. And she sent it to me saying, just wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you. I saw this. Hope you're doing okay. Bearing in mind it's August. There's nothing special in August. But the fact that she saw that, thought of me, knowing my experiences, and thought, you know what, gonna send it to her anyway. I think she worried she was offending me because, again, it's like a really touchy subject, but I found it really nice. So yeah, just like people kind of, people that can see what's going on the inside. I don't know what the word is, but you know, like the kind of fake front that you can put on people that see through that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it like restores my faith in humanity when somebody like reaches out like that, because I like personally I'm the sort of person who like quite likes to be busy, or like I just have a lot on. And like also because I was in my last year of school, so I had like exams and stuff. It's not that I couldn't have missed it, but the way that I work, I didn't take a lot of time off or anything, so I was like always around, and I didn't have many instances of like being upset or really talking about it necessarily a lot at school or whatever. But then that's kind of why it like is really, really nice when people do just like take the initiative and say something, because it's like I think it's really nice when people acknowledge that, and I hope that people continue to like feel like they can do that and just go for it, because it's probably helpful in most cases.
Yeah, I think because I'm also the type of person where I would, you know, want to check up on someone, and I'd probably ask, are you sure you're okay, a little bit too often or too much, because I'm like, you're not coming across as you are. I know you say you are, but like you said, restores your faith in humanity. Anything that kind of just makes you think, okay, there are like some people out there that don't make you feel awful about the situation. How do you feel about when people call you strong or inspirational? Basically just any of those kind of words.
I think being called strong or inspirational is a very interesting thing to experience, because it's like it's probably coming from a really, really good place. Someone trying to, you know, reach out, and yeah, but I don't know. What are your thoughts first? Because I don't know.
I don't think I've ever been called like strong or inspirational. But I was having a chat with someone yesterday, and we were saying a bit like when people say, oh, I'm really proud of you, and it's like, well, what are you proud of? You know, like this happened, but we just kept going, just like everyone else kind of does. You know, life moves on, which you can think of that either two ways. But yeah, I think you're right. Like people do say it from a good place. I think it also depends on who says it. So if, you know, like me and my sister, we share the same dad, we have a different mum. And I know a couple times that her mum has texted me when it was like GCSEs or, you know, getting into college, because I was really ill for a bit. And that was like a massive thing. And she would say, we've been so proud of you. You're doing amazing things. And I'm like, that's lovely. And I'll accept that. But it's oh my gosh, you're so strong. How on earth did you carry on? I couldn't do it. It's usually that's a little bit like, okay.
Yeah, it's because there's not really, you didn't have a choice to just like, it just happened, you know? So yeah, I mean, I'm not like opposed to it. I suppose if someone was like, you're so strong, you get a bit of an ego boost. But but I think it's really weird, and it feels again like there's like a bit of a spotlight on you, and it's like sometimes if it comes from people who don't know, you know, all the details or something, and I don't know, it's very, I have very mixed feelings about it. Having just said like it's really nice when people see through the facade, it also, I don't know if this is just because my dad worked at my school and I just felt like everybody was like watching me like grieving, but I don't want to feel like I've got a spotlight on me and everyone's like watching how I cope with things, which I know they're not, but it's like it can feel a bit weird, I think.
It's probably as well because you know that everyone there knows what's happened, so then it's like you feel a bit more like you can't just kind of hide in the shadows because you're still going to school. And yeah, like school communities can be really good. Then again, it is, you know, word spreads, word everything. when I came out at school. I think my best friend found out through the school before I even told her, and that was within a day. So that is like, it is, no, I completely get what you mean by it's mixed opinions about people seeing you or seeing through you.
Yeah. What about crying? In like, is there a difference for you in terms of like whether it might happen in public places, in private, how often?
I don't remember the last time I cried in public about it. Obviously conversations have happened. I know a few times, even like talking at things with Winston's Wish, I noticed that when I talk about it, I shake. I don't know why. I have no control over it, but I feel like because I'm such an emotional person anyway. I'm so sensitive that I feel like that either I don't know how to cry about that, or I just, something in my brain says no, not gonna do it. So then I stand there shaking instead. I have no idea why. I find it really weird. I don't know what I would prefer. I don't know if I would rather cry or not. Even if, like, say we were on this chat right now and then you started to get upset, I don't know if I would be able to, which is really weird. But then in private, again, I will like cry my eyes out about it out of absolutely nowhere. But I won't go downstairs to my housemates crying about it, because that's a little bit weird. I think that also then goes back to how, like, for me it was 6 years ago, and it feels like no one would really understand if I was crying about it on a random Tuesday. I have texted one of my friends before who has also lost someone, and weirdly enough, they were having the similar kind of night where out of nowhere they were upset, so we could have a little chat. But then, yeah, as soon as it's out my bedroom door, it's nothing. I think personally, because I spoke to someone about this the other day, when she died, it was unspoken. I feel like I've just grown up to not get upset about it, because it's just not been a thing until recently, when I joined uni in first year. I think it's because I was around so many people, so many new people, new families, and everyone else's like life stories, that it then suddenly kind of hit me being away from home. But yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to what you said about like standing there shaking rather than necessarily crying or getting upset about it. I mean, obviously everybody is different, so that everyone will be very different with this, but I think I don't stop myself from crying. It just doesn't come when I'm in public. And there've been multiple occasions, again, because my dad worked at my school, where I've been in situations, like concerts and things, like they would dedicate a song to him sometimes, which was absolutely lovely. But I was like, oh, this is kind of the sort of situation where I probably like would be crying. And then I just like stood there like, and I don't. But then yeah, when I talk about it, or even actually when we would sing those songs, they sang a song at not my funeral, my dad's funeral. And then like we kept it to sing at other things, and whenever we would sing it, like even in rehearsal, I'd just get like a bit of an adrenaline rush, but then I wouldn't like get upset. It was like my body just gave me an adrenaline rush because it was that song, I guess. Again, I was like, what's everybody thinking about this? And everyone would be like, are you okay if we sing this song now? And then I'd be like, yeah, and then I just get shaky. But yeah, I think sometimes it manifests in different ways. And yeah, I think I'm similar in that I find it easier to cry about it when like I've got a moment to myself.
I think what you said about when they dedicated like the song to your dad and you didn't, you just couldn't cry. I feel like that in the media, especially in films, the grieving person would be in tears.
Oh yeah.
Spotlight on them and they're crying and, they proper feel it. And I think some people must do. But yeah, I feel like the spotlight would be on me and I'll be like, turn it around, sing another song, just block it out. there's a couple songs where after she died, and I don't know why I did this, I don't remember choosing to, but I used to sit outside my front door on my doorstep with my headphones in, and I would just listen to these 2 songs on repeat, throw a couple in there so it doesn't get like absolutely boring, but these 2 specific songs that I just can't listen to anymore. And it was even when we had our food tech lessons, my teacher would put music on, and one of those songs came on, and I dealt with it for about like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and I went up to her and I was like, can you change it? They're really lovely songs, and then other people want to play them, but I can't hear them. So that's sort of one of the little things that sticks.
I also, one of the reasons I don't cry in public that much is because I'm like on the go. Like I'll be busy, but I don't know, what's it like for you in terms of like when you're really busy versus if you've not got a lot on? Like how does your grief fluctuate like that?
When I'm busy, it definitely is. I don't think about it. I think I do bury myself in that. The same with breakups. I'll be like, okay, cool, I'm working for the next month every single day. No one talked to me. And then that then doesn't give you the chance to feel it. But which some people say, it's really healthy. You need to feel it. But I think a few of us kind of just don't want to, in a way. I mean, I'm a little bit fed up of it, really. Like 6-7 years, I don't want to be feeling it anymore. I should have felt it when I was like 14. I don't think I did, because I was in secondary school. There was like so much going on, so many lessons, so much friend drama. And then, coming up to uni. So April time we had our Easter holidays. And then that's the same time that I was like feeling really weird. So I can't think like timeline wise what came first, but I know that I had an essay to do, and the essay involved thinking. It was one that I was really stressed about because I knew that if I failed it, then I was getting kicked out of uni. So it was a big deal. And I think because that was me sat there with my laptop having to think, my brain just went, your sister's dead, you should be thinking about that instead. So I couldn't do that essay for a while. I really struggled. But when it comes to practical stuff, like going out with friends or working, or like I'm doing dance at uni, so when I'm actually actively moving, it's not even a thought. But yeah, where it comes to something that's quiet or still productive, but it involves your brain a little bit more, that's when like I'll feel it.
Yeah, it's definitely comes at inconvenient times. Kind of similar. I kind of just have very it's like if I'm in my head, if I'm busy, I'm out of the house. And because I still live like in my house where I lived with my dad the whole time. And like I don't find that to be too triggering or difficult. Like it's quite nice at times, but also it is like the same house. Like I haven't like lots has changed, but also I'm still here. So when I go out of the house, I'm like, okay, it just doesn't, like, I'll be on my way to somewhere, I'll be very clearly, like you say, meeting friends or at school. I tried to spend a lot of time at school while I was like revising for my A-levels, so that I didn't just like wallow in a hole in my house when nobody else was here. And then once I get home, like that's my time to like just like lay in my bed and just like switch off. Like it's very black and white for me, and so I think it does tend to hit me a bit more when it's like when I'm not doing much and it's quiet.
Not that it's always got to be sad. I mean, we've touched on that already, but like when I tell people, oh yeah, no, my sister's died, when, you know, someone asks how many siblings do you have, or oh, you know, you got a brother, you got a sister, and it's like, oh no, they're actually, you know, they actually died, then it's the awkward silence, and it's the, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, or they just don't know what to say. And it's, I guess that is like a misconception that they feel like then they can't keep talking to me or they can't ask about it. I don't think anyone's after that comment has ever asked me what her name was, which is like, it's a bit hit or miss because I like to say her name, but then I also feel weird saying it to people because then that can bring about questions itself. So my one of my best friends at uni for my birthday got me a necklace, and it has, bless her, love it to pieces. When I first got it out of the box, I thought it looked like a traffic light type thing. It's not. It's my sister's, mine and my brother's birthstone. So people ask about it, or I want to talk about it because it's absolutely gorgeous. But then I have to say, oh yeah, it's you know, my sister's one of my brothers, and they're like, your sister. I'm like, yeah. And I think I would prefer people to, when I say, oh yeah, no, she's died, either they come back with like a little bit of humour towards it, or a little bit of, you know, if they've had something similar happen to them, they can just join in, compared to just the awkward silence, which you then feel like you have to feel, or you have to apologise for creating it in a way.
I see what you mean about that. I think it is just like people not knowing how to react and assuming that you wouldn't want to take that further, even if, yeah, I think it can make it hard to bring like your personal, your grief up in conversation, because people like, I mean, it's probably a bit shocking to hear, but still it's nice to keep the conversation going, I think. And I think having a necklace or something, or like anything that you like wear or have that is linked, can be a nice way to open up the conversation. Like for my birthday, I got a necklace that has my dad's ashes in it, and I like was on my birthday just chatting to some people at my school, and they were like, oh yeah, what have you got for your birthday? And I just was like, nobody had asked me, or I mean nobody, I don't really expect people to, but, and it was my birthday and not like a different day, but I was like, nobody had really said anything about my dad all day, and I was like, this is weird, you know. And then I showed them like my necklace, and they were like, oh, that's, you know. And it was like, you know, it's a way to, it's nice to have, bring it up through something else, I guess.
At university, when you get extensions, you can obviously put like the reason you want the extension. I think every university is different. I've heard that some are a little bit more strict on it than mine is, but you can put like well-being, physical health, or things like a death in the family. And it's like so frustrating that it felt at that time, but I couldn't go to the help zone and say, I can't do this, like my sister's died, blah blah blah, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, when did she pass? 7 years ago. Like, you can't. I think that people don't really understand. I'm not sure if there's a timeline on it. I feel like there must be. You know, you can get the extension if they've passed within the past year, or you know, time off to deal with it and think about it. But yes, I think I just put it as well-being, and then they ask no questions and I don't really have to say anything. But at the same time, I wanted to say something to someone. I wanted to say, you know, this is what's going on. Like I really couldn't do that essay, and it was really stressful because not like my life depended on it, but my education depended on it. And yeah, there's not much support in place when it's such a long ago thing.
Yeah, I obviously haven't experienced that much because my dad only died a year ago, but I, like, even, I mean, not the same, but even on a smaller level, I was like when it was coming up to my actual exams, I was like, because I've been like out of school this whole time, people are gonna probably expect me to still just do it, and we'll see what happens on results day. But yeah, it's not linear, and I don't know, it's obviously hard to make those kind of like extension policies, but I think it's important that people know that it can definitely affect you like a lot at any time afterwards, and it's not just within the first few months or the first year.
Thank you, Miranda, for chatting to me. It's been really lovely to hear what you have to say about grief in the media. and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a really interesting conversation.
Thank you for listening to Grief in Common.
This podcast is brought to you by Talk Grief, powered by Winston's Wish, the UK's first children and young people's bereavement charity.
Listen to young people from different backgrounds have honest conversations about their grief and experiences.
You might hear us laugh, cry, and everything in between.
We hope that these conversations give you the confidence to talk about your own grief. If you're grieving and over the age of 13, this podcast is suitable for you, and we hope it helps you feel less alone.
From teenagers to young adults, students to young professionals, we're all different, but we've all got grief in common. Thank you.